Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Spilling Tea. I am your host, Tiffany Daniels. And folks, Merry Stupid O'Clock to one and all. Before we go ahead and get going here, a few quick disclaimers. First off, you are going to see the link to this massive report right there in the description box, as well as the other pertinent links to the Stop the Shocks campaign, including Autistic Hoya's massive archive on the subject, the templates. Folks, sign your names, click on your senator, and the other present change.org Shut the Judge Rotenberg Center Down petition. Also, folks, when we are talking about the JRC, you're going to hear vivid descriptions of, as well as sometimes come across, clips from video surveillance footage of people with disabilities being tortured and abused. If you have young children present, please do go ahead and use your headphones. Also, folks, it is stupid o'clock, 4:10 a.m. in the morning, and this is literally my third attempt. So you know I'm not doing the best in the speech area at the moment. So please give me an autistic indulgence here, and my apologies in advance if I stumble over my words and sound like an idiot this morning. All right, moving on to investigating staff infractions. This is where we all left off yesterday. So let's square our shoulders and prepare ourselves for what we're next going to see here. Investigations are conducted after a complaint or allegation is made through end-of-shift forms, PIOs, client or staff complaints, and/or other means. So, if a person makes a complaint, I wonder, are they able to bring in someone from the outside? Someone without a biased opinion? I say this mainly because this leaves too much open to corruption. What do I mean? Investigations that are conducted by the very people that the person may be complaining about. You see where I'm going with this, obviously. After an allegation is made, staff from evaluations and/or human resources interview the person who has lodged a complaint to decide whether an investigation is warranted. You see what I mean? You see what I mean? That's what I'm talking about right there. Because if a staff member complains, it is then the JRC itself that will sit there and decide if an investigation is warranted or not. And considering their history, we can't best trust them on that matter. I wish I could give them the benefit of the doubt, but yeah. Additionally, if the complaint is one of abuse or neglect, the appropriate state agency is notified. Is it? Was it notified in regards to Andre McCollins? No. The only reason why he got out of there, the only reason why the JRC took any responsibility at all, was because Cheryl McCollins forced it on him. Moving on. An investigation is conducted based on the assessment of the validity of the complaint, the nature of the complaint, and the circumstances surrounding the complaint. In other words, these folks get to decide whether your complaint is valid or not. Think about it. The very people who run and create this school of torture, they determine whether or not your arguments in regards to unfairness and abuse are valid or not. Considering what they consider treatment, I do think their idea of reality is either completely screwed, or at this point they are so corrupt and so greedy they don't even know what the truth is anymore. Moving on. The majority of direct care staff interviewed felt that the evaluations department does a good job of listening to all parties involved and any reasonable expectations before making any disciplinary decisions. Once the decision is made to conduct an investigation, the investigator interviews all parties involved, including witnesses and the person the complaint has been lodged against. After the initial interview with the subject of the complaint, evaluations and/or human resources decide either to discipline the staff member or continue with the investigation. If the investigation is continued, sorry, allergies are really bad this morning. The investigator may also review footage from DVR monitoring system, as well as written or computerized records if necessary. Now, on the surface, this looks fair, right? And at this point, if it were anywhere other than the JRC, I would still take it with a grain of salt, but I'd still give them the benefit of the doubt. But we are talking about the JRC, who are notorious for hiding shit, notorious for trying to destroy evidence. So, they don't exactly get my vote of confidence in regards to their disciplinary decisions. More often, their disciplinary decisions and the people they tend to fire is usually either damage control or PR. Just saying. Moving on. The investigation is conducted with confidentiality. See my point? During the investigation, the investigator may determine that it is in the best interest of all parties to suspend the staff member who is the subject of the complaint until the investigation is complete. Once the investigation is complete, evaluations and/or human resources notifies the subject of the complaint of the investigator's findings and informs them of any disciplinary action being taken. A staff person has a right to appeal the decision and to speak with senior administrators about their concerns. How far are they going to get with those senior administrators, considering they were all handpicked by Matthew Israel? I do wonder. Again, allergies, folks, sorry. When will allergy season end? Moving on. Some of the direct care staff interviewed felt that JRC sometimes terminates employees when a suspension or a demotion may be appropriate. I wonder what they determine appropriate, because it makes me think you're either whistleblowing, you're not shocking the students enough. I don't know. I would like to see that. The direct care staff that expressed this concern were also those who felt that there was not enough direct care staff at JRC and believed that the termination of employees impacted already low staffing levels. Oh, for the love of... Okay. People, judge. More employees at the JRC, more direct care staff with zero mental health or neurological developmental training or experience is not going to help the situation. You are putting people in there with 3 weeks of training in a high school education and giving them a remote control that shocks people, okay? As we all know, folks, most human adults do not reach mental maturity till the age of 25, and you are putting a shock device in the hands of 18, 19-year-old kids who have zero experience with working with people with disabilities whatsoever. And you really want me to believe that 3 weeks of training is going to be a long enough period for me to believe that they are going to act responsibly? especially with that level of power over vulnerable human beings being handed over to him. You have to excuse me if I'm extremely skeptical on that one. However, all of the direct care staff interviewed agreed that termination would be appropriate for certain treatment-related offenses, and generally agreed with the discipline for treatment-related infractions as well. Of course they are, Judge. They're going to tell you whatever you want to hear, and you're just going to believe it because, yeah. Student evaluations of staff. Oh dear. This should be interesting. If a student has a complaint, staff direct him or her to the student staff investigator. Oh, really? This should be interesting. Once a complaint is received, the student staff investigator or human resources will conduct an internal investigation. Again with the internal investigation. Tell me, these vulnerable kids who hold no power at all, how is an internal investigation going to benefit them in any way? Or is the school just going to try to convince them, once again, that it's for their own good? Just saying. The nature of the complaint, the investigation procedure, the investigation of conclusions, and a corrective action will be documented in writing within 30 school days when the complaint was made and is maintained by the evaluations department. Remember how Jennifer Masumba told us how that all works? She told her case manager what was going on with that particular staff member. Nothing was done in regards to that complaint. No investigation was made until it got proven by the DVR monitor. So you have to forgive me if I don't believe at all that these people take their students' words seriously, considering what they do to them. Moving on. Students may submit anonymous complaints through the Submit an Anonymous Complaint section of the Student Discussion Board. Oh, like you can't track. Okay. This comes from me being around too many tech heads. It is all too easy, especially in a limited school with limited computer access, to be able to track down what student is saying what. There is no real such thing as being anonymous online. I hate to tell you all, but there's really no such thing, especially if you're not that tech savvy. You can always trace who said what. And if people really want me to believe that the JRC doesn't spend time trying to find out, I beg to differ. After the Andre McCollum situation and what happened in August 26, 2007, you better bet they are even more hyperly observing everything these students do. They know exactly who says what. You can't tell me any different. Students also have the opportunity to file staff evaluation reports. Students and clients are encouraged to complete at least one evaluation of staff members every day via computer. You mean with a staff member right there, wearing a remote control with their face put on it? Tell me, how non-biased can a student be? How fair can a student be when they have a staff member sitting right next to them with a remote control with their face on it? How can we be assured that it's going to be an accurate, non-influenced staff evaluation when the threat of said staff is literally hanging over their heads? Someone explain that to me. The evaluation form asks for the student client whether or not the staff followed his or her program and JRC policies, and asks the student client to rate the staff member's performance, provide suggestions for improvement, and any other additional information regarding the staff member's performance. Oh, for the love of God. So let me get this straight here. You want the student to inform you whether or not they're being tortured properly? Am I getting this right? Wow. So basically, you want the student to reinforce your concept that this is entirely okay and perfectly normal. Wow. Because what student in their right mind, if not under threat, is ever going to say that any of this is okay? Come on now, JRC. Come on now, Judge. Once complete, the evaluation is sent to the student client's treatment team and the staff student investigator, who will meet with the student client and investigate the circumstances of any problems or complaints noted in the evaluation. Meet or influence? Meet or influence? Meet or trying to find out who else they are talking to. The investigator takes appropriate steps to verify the student's story. You mean to squash it? For example, the investigator reports on what they learned from a review of the DVR video, as well as interviews with other staff that were present. If a student sustains any injuries as a result of an incident, then the appropriate state agency is notified of the incident on the same day as the incident or the day after. Are they? The report must include a conclusion section where the investigator determines whether the staff perpetuated any wrongdoing in the incident and suggests for changes in staffing or program changes to avoid similar future incidents. How often do you think that staff are found to be in the wrong into JRC? I'm going to guess not unless they get caught. And when I get caught, I don't mean by the JRC. I mean by outside sources. Just saying. For example, a student reported a staff member for threatening to punch the student in the face when the parties were outside of the residence. The investigator interviewed the student and all of the staff members who were present, and all reported they did not hear the staff person under investigation make any threats to the student. A review of the DVR video showed that the student's body language was calm until the staff person correctly pinpointed an inappropriate behavior, at which time the student declared that the staff person had threatened her. Okay, so here is exactly what I'm talking about, folks. They don't view shocking a person as a threat. What in the name of God? Think about it, folks. Because I think that student was reporting accurately. And this is what I'm talking about. You really think those students are going to speak up for another student when they themselves are under the threat of being shocked? Of course they're not. Not unless they are made of far stronger stuff than the good majority of us. So, in other words, the student was found at fault, for breathing while being disabled. Then the staff who is pinpointing them for a behavior. It is a threat, people. What's your definition of a threat, JRC? The investigator reported specific facts to support the conclusion that the staff member did not act inappropriately. What you all consider as appropriate behavior is appalling. And Judge, you should be ashamed of yourself. Would you use this on criminals? Would you use it on combatants of war? Then why is it okay to use on disabled people? And why is it that someone with a disability is not able to call it the threat for what it actually is? Moving on. In another incident, the investigator spoke with students and staff regarding complaints from a neighbor to a residence that alleged that the male students were using profane words all day in a loud voice and spending all day with their shirts off in the backyard. The investigator confirmed that the neighbors' allegations were true and issued performance improvement opportunities (PIO) for the staff who were responsible for the students outside and for the staff supervisor who spent the day inside. The JRC students also have the opportunity to fill out end-of-week staff evaluations. These evaluations are different from the previously discussed reports because they offer students an opportunity to commend staff for good behavior and negative incidents alike. Examples of students' comments are as follows. Oh, God, here comes the lies. A student reported that a staff person let another student have 2 peanut butter jelly sandwiches as a snack, even though reporting student believed that only one sandwich is considered a snack. A student wrote, "She's a nice teacher. I hope she be my teacher forever." For another staff person, the same student indicated that that student person should receive a PIO. A student reported that a staff person was socializing with other staff person instead of doing her job. The student also reported when this staff person offered to do the student's required body search, the staff member commented, "You just wanted me to touch you." Oh, wow. A student reported that staff person failed to give the student her daily snack for no reason and talked on the phone in the van transporting students between campus and the residence. Oh, here's where we're going to get here where we shouldn't be listening to students now. It is not clear from the records whether all the student reports are investigated when they include allegations of misconduct on the part of the staff. They're not. I promise you they're not. Unless it has the potential of getting out and going viral, it's not. It is not clear which complaints are followed up and which are not. Some surveys suggest that the students are frustrated that they have filed similar reports in the past and have not seen any changes. It is apparent that some students do not have the language skills to communicate their complaints. Oh, for the love of... This is the assumption of incompetence, and I am not surprised that the JRC falls under it. Considering they treat us like animals, it doesn't even surprise me even the least little bit that they are going to go ahead and claim that they do not have the appropriate skills to communicate. See, JRC are the people who believe that if you don't speak out loud, you don't have communication skills. Have you ever heard of sign language? Just saying. Do you all even teach sign language as a means of communication? Probably not. Often the survey is filled out with just yes or no answers with no elaboration as to the basis of the complaint. How about giving them a platform in which they would be able to use in order to communicate those complaints to you? Or is that just too much hard work? Okay, so in summary here, folks, their complaints and corrections system is just complete garbage. The only time they really investigate anything, be it a staff complaint or a student complaint, is when it threatens to go viral. Let's face it. I'm going to say that they take the majority of students' complaints not seriously at all. Not to mention, when you want to conduct an investigation, and the investigation is being conducted by the very same people who want to keep it quiet, who view students as animals, and absolutely considers it not a threat, when a person is warned that they are going to be shocked for a so-called behavior, like asking for a second bathroom break, yeah, they don't take their complaints seriously at all, unless it's going to reflect badly on the school itself and the worldwide media. That is obvious. The only thing that the JRC cares about, is to cover their own ass. That's it and that's all. They really don't care about the staff that go above and beyond the normal torture and abuse. They don't care what they do to the students, as long as they don't get caught. And on those words, ladies, gentlemen, non-binary and all the like, we're going to go ahead and close out for this morning. And we don't get very many views on this channel. The few that we do tend to get removed from time to time. So folks, please don't forget to hit that like button, hit subscribe, don't forget to hit the comments, feed that algorithm. I do appreciate your time this morning. And as always, we here at Spilling Tea hope you have a good one. Bye-bye.